Japan ranks second in the world's 10 most earthquake-prone countries, 5 of which are in Asia. The first place is shocking, with more than 10,000 earthquakes every year. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, from 1923 to 2024, a total of 3,914 earthquakes occurred worldwide, 6.5 times or more. This is equivalent to 38.7 earthquakes every year, at least 3 times a month. Of course, these terrible earthquakes have never been distributed evenly to all countries in the world. For example, the disaster-stricken countries we know, Japan, have had several earthquakes almost every day. And among the more than 200 countries and regions in the world, which one is the real king of earthquakes? Today, let's follow the world's most popular and take a look at the 10 most earthquake-prone disaster countries in the world. 10. Fiji. Fiji is a country whose name alone will give you a picture of a forest of trees and a blue sky. But who would have thought that such a dreamy vacation paradise would be hidden behind the unknown danger? Yes, Fiji is one of the most frequent regions in the world for earthquakes. Fiji is located deep in the South Pacific, with a small area. The total area of land is only about 18,300 square kilometers, which is a circle smaller than Taiwan. However, it has a vast ocean-specific economic zone with an area of 1.29 million square kilometers, which is more than 70 times the area of land. Fiji is made up of more than 330 large and small islands, 110 of which are inhabited by people. These islands are mostly formed by ancient volcanic activity. The coral reef surrounding the islands is also a treasure of Fiji. Fiji has the second largest continuous coral reef in the world. This is not only a tourist destination, but also a paradise for marine life. So why is this paradise-like place a place of high earthquakes? It turns out that Fiji happens to be at the intersection of the Pacific Plateau and the Australian Plateau. 2 huge plateaus keep colliding here, squeezing and twisting. Speaking of which, this area also includes the Tangier seagull, which is one of the deepest seagulls in the world. The plateaus hatch here at an amazing speed. This plateau's movement produces strong force, which is eventually released by an earthquake. According to statistics from the World Bank, the economic loss caused by earthquakes and tropical cyclones in Fiji each year is $7.9 million. In the next 50 years, Fiji has a 50% probability of experiencing losses of more than $750 million and casualties of more than 1,200 people. There is a 10% chance of losing more than $1.5 billion and casualties of more than 2,100 people. In addition to the shaking of the ground, Fiji must also be aware of the tsunami caused by the seabed earthquake. Due to the fact that many of the earthquake sites are located at the seabed, although the direct destruction is limited, the risk of a tsunami is real. The 8.2 earthquake in 2018 caused a small-scale tsunami wave in the coastal area. Fortunately, due to the depth of the earthquake, it did not cause a greater disaster in the end. No matter what, despite the frequent earthquakes, the beauty of Fiji is still undeniable. The island country of the South Pacific shows a strong vitality under the magic of nature. The frequent earthquakes did not weaken its charm as a tourist destination, but made the story of Fiji more attractive. This mysterious island group is expressing the great power of the 9. New Zealand. On this magical land of New Zealand, the mountains are steep and the lakes are clear. Every scenery seems to come out of a fairy tale. It used to be regarded as the most suitable place for humans to live in the world. It is also the filming location of the movie The Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. But to be honest, the temper of the land here is not gentle. It can even be said that the residents of this island country are dealing with the power of nature almost every day. This is not an exaggeration. According to statistics, from 1923 to 2024, there will be more than 14,000 earthquakes in New Zealand every year. That is, on average, there will be nearly 40 earthquakes on this land every day. Although not every time it can be felt, every hour in your life there may be an earthquake under your feet. That kind of feeling is quite wonderful. Of course, not every earthquake is so harmless. According to the history of New Zealand's earthquake, in the past 11 years, there have been at least 110 earthquakes of 6.5 magnitude or more in New Zealand. Among them, the most serious was the earthquake in Hawke Bay on February 3, 1931. This 7.8 magnitude earthquake almost destroyed Napier City, causing the deaths of 256 people and the loss of up to $8.23 billion. This is the most tragic earthquake in the history of New Zealand. The earthquake caused large-scale building collapses and fires. Even in some places, the ground rose 2.7 meters and formed the so-called earthquake lake. In the 2 weeks after the earthquake reached 525 times. The whole of New Zealand can feel the intense activity of the earthquake. This earthquake not only changed the landscape of Hawke Bay, but also prompted New Zealand to start paying attention to the anti-earthquake design of buildings and promoted the update and improvement of building regulations. In fact, modern New Zealand houses are mostly made of light wood. These buildings are usually only 2 floors high. The brick material is only used for exterior decoration or chimney construction. In an earthquake, even if the exterior wall collapses, the wooden structure of the house can also maintain stability to a certain extent and not completely collapse. In addition, New Zealand is one of the first countries in the world to develop and apply an earthquake isolation system design. Structural earthquake technology has a history of more than 100 years here. This technology can effectively reduce the impact of earthquakes on buildings and greatly improve the safety of buildings in an earthquake. In the face of frequent earthquakes, the people of New Zealand have long learned how to work with nature. From the anti-earthquake design of buildings to daily anti-earthquake exercises and public education, New Zealanders use wisdom and perseverance to create a safe living space in an earthquake-prone environment. This beautiful country, known as the end of the earth, despite the enormous pressure of nature, has always faced every challenge with a firm and optimistic attitude. Mexico. In a country with frequent earthquakes around the world, Mexico can definitely be counted as the rock theater of nature. The frequency of earthquakes in Mexico is really a bit too high. In the past century, Mexico has experienced at least 125 earthquakes of 6.5 G or more, 200 earthquakes of 6 G or more, and more than a dozen earthquakes of 8 G or more. And in many of these earthquakes, the big earthquake in Mexico in 1985 must have a name. This 8.0 magnitude earthquake destroyed thousands of buildings in an instant, causing about 10,000 people to be displaced and more than 200,000 people homeless. What is shocking is that the town is 350 kilometers away from Mexico City. But due to the complexity of the geological conditions and the impact of the earthquake, the destruction of Mexico City is extremely severe. The entire city is buried in a rubble, and more than 400 buildings have collapsed, and more than 3,000 buildings have been damaged. The scene is heartbreaking. However, the most unexpected thing is that this tragedy happened 32 years later. On September 7, 2017, there was an earthquake of 8.2 magnitude in the southern part of Mexico, which set the strongest record in 100 years. According to statistics, the impact of this earthquake is wide and shocking. More than 50 million people in Mexico's total 1.2 billion population experienced the tremor of this earthquake. Even Mexico City, which is more than 1,000 kilometers away from the earthquake, has a clear sense of tremor. The building shook for more than a minute. The earthquake not only caused serious damage, but also caused 98 people to be displaced. However, what is even more unsettling is that 12 days later, Mexico City again suffered a 7.1 level Puebla earthquake. This earthquake killed 370 people and injured more than 6,000 people. Coincidentally, this earthquake happened on the 32nd anniversary of the Great Earthquake in Mexico in 1985. The intensity of the earthquake and the continuous tremor made people feel the unpredictability and destruction of the Mexican underground blockade movement. Then back to the question, why is Mexico always injured? This has to start with its geographical structure. Mexico is located at the intersection of the North American blockade the Pacific blockade, and the Cocos blockade. These three blocks are like a geographical version of the Three Kingdoms, and they are constantly competing with each other. Especially the Cocos blockade, it rushes to the North American blockade every year at a speed of 67 millimeters. Like a restless little mouse, it keeps digging underground and squeezing the bottom of the North American blockade. This intense geographical movement will naturally trigger a major earthquake. Faced with such frequent and strong earthquakes, doubts and problems in the hearts of the Mexican people continue to arise. Why can't the earthquake warning time be earlier? Is the architectural design enough to deal with a stronger earthquake that may come in the future? Despite the doubts in their hearts, the Mexican people still face life with an optimistic and determined attitude. They know that although the earthquake may shake their houses, it can't shake their courage and willfulness. China, this vast land, while having a brilliant civilization, is actually the main battlefield of the global blockade. For nearly 100 years, China has had an earthquake of up to 154.65 gigahertz. It is said to be a country that endures earthquakes, which is not an overstatement at all. According to statistics, since the 20th century, there have been 3 earthquakes in China, the world's top 10 earthquakes due to the death toll of earthquakes. In 1920, the Great Earthquake in Gansu, Haiwan, Ningxia County shocked the earth, causing 27.3 million people to evacuate. In 1976, the Great Earthquake in Hebei and Tangshan took the lives of 24.3 million people. It is one of the most tragic natural disasters in Chinese history. In 2008, the Great Earthquake in Wenchuan shocked the whole country. More than 87,000 people were displaced or missing. These figures not only make people sad, but also highlight China's helplessness as an earthquake outbreak zone. Is the earthquake seriously damaged because of the large population? This may only account for part of it. In fact, China's land area accounts for only 6.7% of the world's land area, and the population accounts for only 17.9% of the world's total population. However, the earthquake in China accounted for about 33% of the total land area of the world. This means that from a geographical point of view, China is a serious earthquake zone. Speaking of which, China's earthquake activity has a significant east-west distribution. Take the first line of Helan Mountain, Longwen Mountain, and Hengduan Mountain as an example. This line is also the boundary line between the first and second levels of China's geographical ladder. The western boundary is mainly the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau and Xinjiang area at high altitudes. These areas are frequently earthquakes, with strong earthquakes and strong conglomerates. The boundary line is the east. Although the area of the earthquake risk zone in the north-south plain is relatively small, there is still a certain degree of destruction. It can be said that China's earthquake is the result of a large-scale blockade and a large-scale landslide. As a result of the common role of the two bodies, the earthquake in the west is compressed, and the earthquake in the east is stretched. So, although we can't completely avoid earthquakes, but by understanding the scientific principles behind these earthquakes, we will be able to better respond to the challenges brought by earthquakes, thereby reducing losses and protecting lives. On the global map of earthquakes, Chile is undoubtedly an eye-catching town. Chile, located on the west coast of South America, has a coastline of 4,300 kilometers, which not only gives it a charming scenery, but also makes it a major disaster area for earthquake activities. Chile's geographical structure determines that it will inevitably become a hotbed for earthquakes. This country is located at the intersection of the Pacific Plateau and the South American Plateau. The Nazca Plateau rushes to the south of the South American Plateau at a speed of about 70 millimeters per year. This constant pressure is eventually released in the form of an earthquake. Looking back at the past century, Chile has experienced an earthquake of 162 to 6.5 times. And the most legendary of these was undoubtedly the Great Valdivia earthquake on May 22, 1960. This earthquake level has reached 9.5 times and is still the largest earthquake in the world record, with an estimated economic loss of $3.2 billion to $6.4 billion. The energy released by this earthquake is tens of thousands of times more than the atomic bomb that destroyed the island. The broken plates on both sides cross each other and slide 20 to 30 meters. This earthquake not only caused the death of about 6,000 people, but also caused a devastating tsunami, with a wave of up to 25 meters reaching the entire Pacific region. The great power of the tsunami made people far away in Hawaii, Japan, and Australia feel the power of the Chilean earthquake. Hawaii and Japan have 61 people and 140 people respectively, so they lost their lives. Think about it. An earthquake in South America can actually cross half of the Earth and take the lives of Asians. This is definitely not a science fiction, but a real disaster. After years of research, experts even think that the Great Valdivia earthquake may represent the limit of the Earth's single-term earthquake release energy, which means that the future earthquake may not exceed this limit. This provides some psychological comfort for the future response to the earthquake. However, even if science and technology are constantly improving, governance is still facing huge challenges. The unpredictability of an earthquake is still the biggest challenge in the field of disaster prevention and disaster reduction. Although governance has a rich experience of fighting earthquakes, it needs to continue to improve the ability and technical means to reduce losses as much as possible in the future earthquake. 5. Philippines. The Philippines, a beautiful country made up of about 7,000 islands, has a charming beach and rich tropical scenery, but it is also noteworthy for its frequent earthquakes. In the past century, the Philippines has experienced more than 174.65 earthquakes. So, what makes this island country a popular area for earthquake activities? The Philippines is located at the intersection of the Philippine Sea Plateau, the Eurasian Plateau, and the Indo-Australian Plateau, which is located in the core area of the Pacific Ocean volcano belt. This volcano belt is also called the Earth's Ring. About 80% of earthquakes in the world occur in this area. Unfortunately, the Philippines is located in the center of this earthquake boxing match. With the constant collision and friction of these plates, huge earthquake forces will suddenly release at a certain moment and cause an earthquake. In the history of the Philippines, there have been several earthquakes that have still left a mark on people's hearts. On August 17, 1976, there was an 8.0 level earthquake in Morro Bay. This earthquake caused about 5,000 to 8,000 people to be displaced, and more than 10,000 people injured. More than 90,000 people were homeless. On July 16, 1990, there was another 7.8 level earthquake. More than 1,600 people died in this disaster. Thousands of buildings collapsed. As a result, the economy lost up to $100 billion. The story of the Philippines' earthquake is not only the story of the Earth, but also the story of human and nature's struggle. For the Philippines, the challenge brought by the earthquake may never stop. But the people of the Philippines still tell the world with action that no matter how bad the earthquake is, they will continue to stick to this land.